The drama is over. The pick is in. The 49ers have selected the powerful defensive end, Mykel Williams, out of Georgia to open this 2025 draft. Williams, versatile guy for Kirby Smart. And that's saying something because Kirby Smart comes from the Nick Saban tree, who obviously comes from the Bill Belichick tree. Williams played the jack defensive linebacker position for Georgia. That meant that he lined up at the 3 technique, the 5 technique, even standing up as an outside linebacker. He projects as an edge rusher, a bookend for Nick Bosa in the 49ers system. He models his game after Myles Garrett. 6'5", 270 pounds. John Lynch spoke the other day saying that the 49ers' most coveted trait at that edge rusher position is the ability to set the edge, because the 49ers need to stop the run to have some fun. Well, Mykel Williams, with the size that he has, he can set an edge, and he did that at Georgia. He also rushed the passer with good effectiveness at Georgia. Maybe not 10-plus sack effectiveness, but this was still a productive player, unlike somebody like Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M, who was all traits, no production in college. We saw both traits and production from Mykel Williams in college. Remember that last season, Mykel Williams had an ankle sprain, and he was tough enough to play through it, but apparently he kept on aggravating it, so he never fully had a chance to get healthy. That also might have slowed down his production. It's obviously part of what the 49ers took into consideration when drafting Mykel Williams. You look at this from a value standpoint for San Francisco. Edge rusher is a tough position to get a premium player regardless of where you're picking. You almost always have to pick very high in the draft to be able to find that premium edge rusher. In 2019, it was a no-brainer for the 49ers. Nick Bosa was up there. They grabbed him at number 2. This season, well, there wasn't a Bosa-like prospect outside of maybe Abdul Carter, but obviously he went earlier in this draft out of Penn State. So once the 49ers hit their spot to pick, well, it was time to get Mykel Williams. They now have solidified that edge rushing position, at least with a prospect who might be able to develop into what they want. It's obviously going to take that leap to the NFL level. But moving forward, the 49ers, who also have holes at defensive tackle, can turn toward the true depth of this draft class. They've got 10 more picks. And this draft class, well, I mean, you look at the fact that it has 40-plus defensive tackles who are invited to the NFL Combine, about 15 more than in 2024. I think San Francisco can really feast at another position of need coming up on days 2 and 3. But Mykel Williams is not a surprise. He was on the medium-length list of players whom we expected to take. And if we made it a short list before the draft, I think Mykel Williams was definitely on it as well. Walter Nolan, Mykel Williams, obviously Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon, but there were some medical concerns, medical flag regarding his shoulder had come up a few days before the draft. So Mykel Williams had crystallized into one of the most likely options for the 49ers to pick. They need him to work opposite Nick Bosa. They needed to solidify themselves against the run. Remember, this football team was number 29 against the run. It wasn't all the edge position's fault opposite Bosa. It was also the fault of the linebacker position, some safety tackling issues, schematic issues. 49ers will try to address all of those things. But with this pick in the first round, they could only address one issue. And they decided to address a super high value issue, and that is that defensive end position with a guy who's got extremely long arms. When we talk about traits, well, I get it. Shamar Stewart, long arms. He was a very traits-based player. If people focused on Shamar's traits because there wasn't production to back it up, Mykel, a little bit more production, 34 and 3/8 inch arm length, which, helps him model his game after somebody like Myles Garrett. So does the 6'5", 270-pound size. And, Kirby Smart said, he's a great leader for us. So Smart in the evaluation process, this is from Dane Brugler, who writes The Beast, the big draft guide, he said that Kirby Smart was very, very complimentary of the leadership capabilities that Mykel Williams brings to the table. And when there are questions about guys like Walter Nolan and guys like James Pierce Jr., who plays the same position out of the same conference as Mykel Williams, I think that endorsement from Smart means a lot. Remember, Kirby was the defensive coordinator under Nick Saban at Alabama. Nick Saban was the defensive coordinator under Bill Belichick with the Cleveland Browns a long time ago, back in the early 90s. Those are all defenses that really, really harped on the importance of adaptability. So we talk about the whole star cornerback position playing inside and out. I think that was born in a Belichick, Saban, and then ultimately Kirby Smart defense. Talk about adaptability up front. I think that carries over. And since Mykel Williams is a product of a Kirby Smart defense, the 49ers could potentially have a defensive lineman who could line up a little bit inside, obviously line up outside, give them a good edge setting, pass rushing presence with even a little bit of adaptability to occasionally, very occasionally, not too much, drop into coverage. Dane Brugler actually had a player comp for Mykel Williams, said Jason Pierre-Paul. If this pick for the 49ers turns into anything like Jason Pierre-Paul, well, then it will have been a successful pick. One thing that I would caution 49ers fans of right now is that this is a long NFL draft, and the success or failure of this draft will not be determined by this one pick. The 49ers need the meat in the middle of this draft. They need to hit that hard, and they've got 11 picks total to do that. And John Lynch believes that this draft is strong in that middle. Maybe even has starting caliber players who will be available into day 3. That's a huge deal. And that's where the 49ers need to hit to get faster, to get healthier, to get hungrier as they enter this 2025 season, because that's where they were lacking in 2024. So even though this is the first round pick, even though Mykel Williams is going to get the headliners treatment from this draft, it is what the 49ers do on days 2 and days 3. Won't be quite as sexy because San Francisco won't be picking in the first round anymore, but it's going to be more important than what we've already seen cumulatively, because you can have all the star players that you want, but that number is not going to get over 10, right, on a team. 49ers probably already have 7 or 8 superstars right now. What you need is spots 8 to 53 to be filled out with quality depth. So Mykel Williams projects as a starter right away for the 49ers. But what they do on Friday and what they do on Saturday is going to be absolutely critical. Remember the last time that the 49ers had a very strong bookending edge rushing situation? I would say that they had an elite one in 2019 with Dee Ford, but he was lighter, so he was a pass rushing specialist. Charles Omenihu, when he blossomed into a really good 3-down player for the 49ers, they went a long way. That was the number 1 defense in football under DeMeco Ryans in 2022. So I think that they've got similar visions moving forward, except a higher ceiling for Mykel Williams, who tests so well and is so big. Again, 4.77 40-yard dash, 1.61 10-yard split at his pro day. Those are really, really good numbers. The 49ers are excited about that, and I can tell you who's probably most excited. Chris Kasarik, defensive line coach, has some real moldable clay to work with. Somebody who's got the traits, but also has the production to back up some of those traits. I think Mykel got better over his time in college, especially since you consider that the statistics his last season came on that high ankle sprain. Well, now Chris Kasarik and the 49ers defensive line is going to attempt to take him one step further. Everybody hit that like button, hit the sub button. This is just the first of many 49ers pick updates from this weekend.